we're going to move on to another woman. Oh, great. Segue. Susie Wolff, the newly retired former Formula One test driver and DTM driver, launched a new incentive, or at least a new program at the Autosports event this past weekend called the Dare to Be Different Initiative. King, tell us a bit more about it, would you? Because, you know, this is like your makeshift Susie Wolff report for the last time.
It lives on. I thought it would die a sweet death.
Nope. She's still relevant, King. She's still relevant. You can't get rid of her.
Yeah, so the Dare to Be Different initiative launched by Susie Wolff in association with the British Motorsport Association. You know, it hopes to encourage young women to be interested in participating in motorsport, not only as drivers, but also behind the scenes as, you know, mechanics, engineers, you know, the whole picture. And they plan to do this by having, like, I think they have 5 scheduled events this year that they're going to have at karting circuits to introduce girls to karting and motorsport in general. And alongside that, they're also going to have an online community where girls can come in contact with, you know, ambassadors with the program, Claire Williams, Susie Wolff, Rachel Brooks, and Alice Powell.
Yeah, now this sounded all great on paper. The announcement was very slick, and you know there was a nice little selfie booth you could get in the Autosport show because everyone loves a good selfie. And it all looked nice. The announcement was pretty shrewd. I liked it. I read it over. It seemed pretty reasonable on paper. Couple of problems though, King. Would you like to explain the first one? It was mainly to do with the website itself.
To access the online portion of the initiative, you need to pay a community fee of £25 a month. I mean, £25 a year.
I was going to say if it was £25 a month, I think I just jumped out of the window from now. But yeah, you have to pay £25 a year to access the online features of this initiative. Now, let's be real here again. Motorsport is not a cheap sport to invest in. It is hard to get into motorsport on a grassroots level. I mean, if you've ever watched any form of grassroots racing, what's the first thing a driver or a racer does? Thank their sponsors, because they're the ones that are keeping them there. It's a hard sport to get into on any level. We've all seen the story of Lewis Hamilton and his dad having to work 3 jobs to keep his son's dream alive. We've all heard those stories. So, let me get this straight. In a sport that struggles on a grassroots level, you're introducing an incentive that you have to pay to be a part of. Who said this was a good idea?
Probably the website designer.
No clue.
I've got to make my cut, bruh.
I mean, I don't think the fee is as extortionate as it could be. I mean, generally, if you are in motorsport, that's the sort of fee that you could get off a sponsor at a low level. But at the same time, the ethos doesn't sound right.
It doesn't send the right message.
No, it doesn't. Not at all.
It doesn't. It's more the message than the price itself. That, you know, we should be encouraging. Like, ultimately, they want to encourage participation. Make it free. Like, you give people as much of a net as possible for them
or
to
at
be
least have a
caught
free
in.
sign-up option.
Yeah, like, maybe even just like a free trial for the first year, just to see if you're interested or something along those lines, because, like, telling people to get involved at that kind of price point, especially if you're under the age of 18 and you probably can't afford to just drop 25 quid on something like that.
You're already paying for a load of tyres and that in karting, for example.
Like, how are you going to convince your parents that this is actually worthwhile, especially if you believe you're actually any good? Because if you think you're any good, you'd say, why would you need that kind of incentive?
Yeah, I mean, and as a non-profit organization, they can accept donations, and right beside the sign up for, you know, the £25 a year, they have an option where it's like, oh, would you like to make a donation? You could give a donation to the organization.
But what's the point?
Yeah.
Hold up, what? Hang on. What's the point in them having a pay option? Why not have a free sign up, and then if you get something out of it, then you have the choice to donate?
You know, like a Patreon page or something.
Plug.
Or even like a crowdfunding campaign or something along those lines.
Absolutely.
Like that would have made a lot more sense than going down the straight-up subscription model, because nobody likes subscription costs unless it's their Xbox Live account. That's just one of these things. Like, unless you absolutely have to pay it or you see the value in it, if you can help it, you won't pay that kind of money.
That's a difficult thing. I mean, you hit it right there. Seeing the value in it, a lot of people will be skeptical coming out because they know that motorsport is a difficult world enough as it is to encourage women to get involved. I mean, the This Girl Can campaign has done a pretty good job encourage participation at a grassroots level for women in sport in general. So I kind of see this. I thought this was where they were going with this in terms of a motorsport specific thing. The subscription thing sounds out the wrong message, and I think maybe a cheaper or at least a free option with premium features to sign up for if you have the money to do so. I think that would probably work better to get people in, because then you get testimonials flowing and you get a good rep. It's the basics of building a brand and a company.
How any young business would start. You get the word out there.
Exactly.
You don't open up and charge a big fee to get people through the door.
I guess they're probably banking on the Susie Wolff name.
Yeah,
and the testimonials they get from people like I said before, Alice Powell, Rachel Brooks, and Claire Williams saying that this is an organization that girls should be a part of.
Yeah, that's one thing, but also the other problem I have with something like this is that how are you going to get people of the world to come to Scotland for these events?
Well, that's another thing. It's not meant for people outside the United Kingdom because of their deal with the MSA. It's only British. It's British based. It's only for Britain.
That doesn't help.
But I guess it's a start for in the UK. If Susie Wolff's obviously British, she's raised here, she's trying to give back to the grassroots in this country. So I suppose I get the vibe from it that she is trying to make things she's trying to help women coming up in British motorsport and have them sort of avoid some of the problems that she probably faced coming up through. And I think overall the ethos of it is fantastic. Isn't this? I mean, I'd much rather have initiatives like this than an all-female Formula One series with 4 cars on the grid that no one cares about and no female driver actually wants to enter anyway. Because as another British club racing driver, Abby Eaton, correctly said, no female race driver wants to be the best female driver in the world. They want to be the best race driver in the world.
It's a matter of inclusion. It's a matter of inclusion, and you got to start that by opening up the doors on a grassroots level. And I only hope that this doesn't curtail what is a great incentive and what on paper is a fantastic thing. That's that we do need a more female presence in Formula One on every level, in my opinion. And it's not just a driver's perspective. It's I mean, how many women do you see in the average F1 team garage, for example? There's not many out there.
Well, I think a organization like this should promote the various uses of roles for women in sport. I mean, this would be a perfect way to deal with the whole grid girls debate that we've been having in the last year or so. If you're a woman in motorsport, that's not the only thing you have a role for in motorsport, to sit around looking pretty. You can be like, for example, a Lena Gade, who is a Le Mans winning engineer for Audi. Be someone like a Kim Stevens, who was most people will know as the woman who got drenched with champagne by Lewis Hamilton on the Abu Dhabi podium. But she's, I believe, a strategist and an engineer for the Mercedes Grand Prix team.
Yep.
Be someone like
an American.
As well.
Of course.
Had to get that plug there, King.
Had to get that one in there, didn't you, King?
By the way, she's one of ours.
Yay!
But yeah, all that sort of thing. I know. I'm glad that the campaign. I mean, I was there on the Thursday at Autosport when it was launched, and there was a good sort of buzz on the ground about it. It was a good enthusiasm, and if it persuades even some women to get into motorsport at whatever level they want to, as a staff member, engineer, team owner, racer, whatever, then more power to it. Mazel tov to it. It's done its job.
Yes, and I can only hope that the approach they've taken, despite that, which I still don't think is the right move, I still wish them the greatest success.
Absolutely.
And I hope they can raise the female profile of motorsport in general, because I still see many people on their timelines talk about how the female presence isn't really a thing, and they want to play the whole reverse sexism game with me, and I don't like it.
Let's put it this way. I hope that this campaign, and I have a feeling this campaign can be far more progressive for women in Formula One than signing Carmen Jorda.
Yes, and we'll talk about that in the Q&A section. There's a very interesting question regarding that, and we'll be talking about that in a bit.
what was shocking to me, like, at first I was going to make a video about this, but then it just expanded to a full-blown report. I haven't finished the report yet, but the participation numbers for women in Britain are horrendously low.
They really
like the
are.
MSA's entry-level single-seater championship, formerly Formula 4, now MSA Formula, over the past 7 seasons, there's been about 1 female driver for about 40 men.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's at entry level.
So that's about 2.5%.
Yeah, and that can sort of, I think in a way that can sort of backfire into a sort of pressure on whoever does come through. We sort of end up getting behind those who do come through. Like, for example, Sophia Fleuersch, the young German driver, made a big impact in Ginetta Juniors last year, but then quit halfway through the season. And I believe she's looking to do a full season in German Formula 4 this year. And she has Formula 1 ambitions.
She's already signed on.
Huh?
Yeah, she's already signed on to do a full season.
Right. Yeah, there we go. And I think a lot of people, I think sometimes there are so few women in these major roles that the ones who do get there feel like they're in a real sort of goldfish bowl, you know, because we sort of, a lot of us got behind Susie Wolff, I think, because, hey, it was better than nothing. No disrespect to Susie at all. She's, you know, a talented race driver. She had her place. She did well in DTM for what she had there. But in terms, I think a lot of people, as you said, Dre, it's almost the other way. It's rather than knocking them because they're a woman, you praise them even more so than they probably deserve because they're a woman and you want to see a woman at the top level. So it's very hard. And the ultimate aim of this campaign, I hope, is to almost take the gender out of it and make talent the only consideration. Gender, it shouldn't matter. In an ideal world, it shouldn't. Unfortunately, it does. Let's try and minimize that and make it about the most talented drivers making it to the top. Male, female, whatever.
Yeah, like
non-binary as well. I'm sorry.
For like a certain perspective, I know how they feel because being an American, there are very few Americans. When there's an American, they get extra scrutiny or praise because they're an American.
Yeah, and that shouldn't be a thing. But yeah, absolutely agree to both of you on that one. Speaking of talented drivers, Pastor Maldonado. Again, I segue so well, don't I? Yeah.